work, and I'm proud to be um, doing his work. From my journey of my classes that I've been to, of getting to know God more and getting to know more about the spiritual world, it is definitely not an easy journey. It's definitely a sacrifice, but I'm all for it. I am all in 100%. And last between last year and now, just from the transitioning from God, it's showing me more and more visions of what He wants me to do and what my calling is. At first, it was a hard. It was. I was like, God, you sure? You sure this is what you want me to do? I definitely was questioning. But then when I think back on all the things that I've been through, and um, just from things that I came out of that he helped me to overcome. It just reminded me that he was preparing me for this moment, and I never thought that my testimony and the things that I've been through would be used to help other people. And this vision that he gave me is definitely something that I'm gonna carry with pride, and just to help other women who in my situation, those are lost that are looking for love in the wrong places instead of looking for God. And I just know that it's just a burning sensation in me, and it's just such a passion for me to do this. And I've always heard people say, "Oh, I do this because I have a passion for it." But now I understand what that feeling is like. It's just something that's sitting in your chest waiting to gush out. Um, so I'm like, I know this is definitely it. I didn't picture it to be like this, but God's thoughts are not mine, His ways are not mine, and I'm learning that day by day. Um, so I'm just gonna let Gianna introduce herself.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
So
good evening,
good evening,
everyone.
everyone.
I'm Gian
I'm Gian
Williams
Williams
Knight.
Knight.
I'm an
I'm an
attorney.
attorney.
I'm an
I'm an
author,
author.
um,
Um,
friend,
friend,
sister,
sister,
auntie.
auntie.
I've just
I've just
had
had
a lot
a
of
lot of
different
different
experiences
experiences
in my
in
life.
my life.
Um,
Um,
and
and
I just
I
believe
just
that
believe
this is
that this
what
is
we're
what we're
called to
called
do,
to do,
use what
use
we've
what
been
we've been
through to
through
help
to
other
help
people
other
get
people
through it.
get through it.
I'm
I'm
married to
married to
Clarita's brother.
Clarita's brother.
So
So
that's
that's
part of the
part of the
connection as
connection
well.
as
But
well. But
I'm just
I'm just
happy
happy
to see
to
you
see you
moving through
moving through
on your
on your
vision
vision
and
and
living
living
life
life
with
with
purpose and
purpose and
passion.
passion.
I'm here for
I'm
it.
here for
So
it.
happy to
So happy
support.
to support. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support. I I know we've always had a good connection, but I never thought of this one. Definitely
That's
didn't think
life.
that's life. Yeah. God moving so such mysterious ways.
Hmm.
Right. So the topic that God laid on my heart for me to do for my first life was from toxic to whole, and I wanted to touch on this topic because I feel for anything that you're going to do in life, you always have to start with yourself, and you have to start with the foundation of yourself to just clean yourself up. Let's put it like that. We clean our houses, and we don't think about the inner house, which is our soul and our spirit, to clean that up as well. The enemy's always out to get our souls and our spirits. So I think building yourself up mentally, physically, and spiritually is definitely something in nowhere likely to go wrong. And I definitely had a lot of toxic mindset about even God. I had toxic mindset about in life and relationship and everything else. And I said when I had that moment where I had to look in the mirror and look at myself, like Michael Jackson says, look at the man in the mirror. And I had to look at myself, and I had to say, where am I going wrong? What choices am I making? And instead of pointing the finger on other people and look at continuously looking at people who hurt me, I had to look at myself and wonder, why am I attracting them? What is in me that is broken, that is causing me to make the decisions that I make, especially in a relationship? Um, I had to look at myself in the mirror. So I wanted to start my podcast off on that foundation of just giving people some tips, advice, and from my testimony of how they could come out of that hole that toxic mindset and get into a mindset that is of God, a mindset that is of positivity, of wholeness. And that's where I wanted to start with this topic. Um, when God gave me this vision, everything, including the name and everything, it was just coming to me. It's almost like when you turn the room is dark and you turn the light bulb on and you can see everything. That's exactly how my vision came to me. I was literally at work, sitting down, and because the vision was coming so strong, I had to stand up. And I'm standing up and I'm staring into space and it's just downloaded and downloaded. And when I wrote it down, I definitely reached out to Prophet and I told him, I was like, this is my vision, this is my vision, this one. I went to write it down. And in between of even creating my first live event, I had doubts. I'm like, am I sure? And I had to like, no, enemy, this is what God called me to do and I'm gonna do it. And God told me, if I actually do something, do not worry about the resources. And here we are.
Yep.
Yep. So some of the topics that I wanted to get into. So the first topic, I have 5 questions, so I didn't want the live to be super, super long. We already started late. So my first topic would be about self-awareness. Before we get into it, I just want to kind of break down self-awareness because I think people hear it all the time, but I don't think they have a good grasp understanding of what self-awareness is. And it's definitely what I mentioned earlier of Michael Jackson, that man in the mirror of looking at yourself. And I think if you're going to start to heal from anything or get over anything, it always start with that self-awareness. And that's something that I wanted to start with. So um, so I'm just going to break down self-awareness, just give people understanding. If you guys are watching, take your notebooks. You might learn something new today. You will definitely learn something new today. So it's the ability to reflect on oneself, to recognize patterns in your thoughts, your behavior, and your emotions. Um, it's also having self-awareness and understanding your strengths and your weaknesses and how people perceive you. In other words, how people see you. So that's the reason why I needed to break it down, because people just think self-awareness is, oh, I made a mistake, so let me see what I did wrong. But it goes deeper. It's understanding what behaviors am I having? What are my emotions looking like? Are my emotions toxic? Is my behavior toxic? Are my thoughts toxic? And the first thing is your thoughts. That's in your head, and we can't see, only God can hear our thoughts. We can't see in each other's heads. So I just wanted to break that down so people get a better understanding of what self-awareness look like. So I just wanted, so one of the questions that I wanted to touch on was how important you think self-awareness is to you, from where you've been to or where you are now.
Well, I think
I think
that's
that's
top priority
priority
to be able to
to
look
be
at
able to look
yourself
at
and
yourself and
say,
say,
I'm
I'm not
not as good as
as
I
good
need
as
to
I need to
be.
be.
I could
I
be the
could be the
problem.
problem.
Um, if we're
If
in a
we're in a
position where
position
we're
where
not
we're not
able to look at
able to look at
ourselves and
ourselves
say,
and say,
I was
I was
wrong,
wrong,
that
that
tends
tends
to
to
lend
lend
itself
itself
to
to
a lot of
a lot of
trauma,
trauma,
a lot
a
of
lot of
damaged
damaged
relationships,
relationships,
because
because
if you
if you
can't take
can't take
accountability for your
accountability for your
behavior,
behavior,
usually
usually
in the
in
path
the
of
path
that
of
is
that
a
is
lot of
a
people
lot
who
of
you
people who
hurt.
you hurt.
So
So
that could be your
that could be your
family, that could be
family,
your
that could be your
friends, it could be
friends, it
your
could be your
romantic
romantic
relationships.
relationship.
But the
But the
fact of the
fact of the
matter
matter
is,
is,
the
the
starting point
starting
is
point is
always being
always being
aware of
aware of
where you
where you
are
are
and
and
how
how
your
your
thoughts
thoughts
and actions
and
are
actions
actually
are actually
translating out to
translating
other
on to
people.
other
So
people. So
that's
that's
definitely
definitely
number
number
one
one
in this step.
in this step.
Being willing
Being
to look
willing to
at
look
yourself
at
and
yourself and
say,
say, you
you
know,
know, maybe I wasn't right.
maybe
Maybe I'm the
I'm the
problem. Maybe
problem.
my attitude is stink.
Maybe
Maybe I
I
communicate
communicate
poorly.
poorly,
Maybe
yeah,
I'm
or maybe I'm
impatient.
impatient,
But
but
actually being
actually
willing to
willing
look at
to look at
yourself and
yourself
be
and
willing
be
to make
willing
that
to make that
assessment.
assessment.
Mhm.
Awesome. Yeah, just to follow up on what you were saying, you're correct. And For me, I think one of the biggest things for self-awareness, other than looking in the mirror, is your thoughts. And a lot of the times we have toxic thoughts and we don't notice that they're toxic.
Mm-hmm.
It starts in your head, because when it's in your head, it spills out to your emotions and it spills out to your behavior, how
Mm-hmm.
you're treating other people. If you're a broken person, you're gonna attract broken people, and they say you attract what you are, and it's true.
It, it is.
And you're gonna attract broken people, and then you're gonna blame them for you not even looking within yourself. Because I had to do that, especially for relationships. I had to tell myself, and when it comes to God, I said, what am I doing wrong? Why God is not showing up in my life? Why my life is still being the same cycle over and over? Why am I attracting the same person but in a different body? Um, and I'm like, and I was literally looking at myself, and I'm like, but I'm not broken. That's a toxic mindset. You know what I'm saying? That's what people look at it. I'm not broken. They're the ones that have trust issues. I'm such a good person. I'm a good woman to them. I'm going to church and stuff like that. I'm praying to God. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way I'm toxic. I'm not out here fighting people and cursing people. And I'm like, there are different forms of toxicness, okay?
Yep.
And different layers of toxicness. And I had to look really deep within myself. And it took me to go to a therapy, which helped me to start unpacking what are some of those toxic traits.
Mm-hmm.
It took me to go to God to pray, to ask Him to show me what I'm not seeing. And I was like, okay, okay, this makes sense.
You
I was
know,
like,
you just you just put something in my head because I think we usually think about toxic behavior being angry and aggressive and um you want to fight and argue, but sometimes toxicity is at, like this unnatural desire to be loved.
yeah,
So you're willing to deprive yourself of your needs and your wants just because you want that connection so badly.
yeah,
That's toxic, because betraying yourself is toxic to you. So you know that this person may cheat on you, they might not treat you well, but you just so badly want to be in a relationship that you're going to put all of that aside and still move forward with the relationship. So toxicity does not have to be angry and loud and aggressive.
exactly.
It really could just be like just this desire, this extremely strong desire to be loved no matter what. And sometimes and honestly it's not even love. It's just the desire to be connected to somebody, wanting that connection.
Right.
I heard a therapist say once that we are wired for connection or protection. So we're either having healthy relationships to build proper connections, or we're doing things to protect ourselves. It's
Okay.
never both. You can't connect and protect at the same time,
Amen.
because connection requires a level of vulnerability and a risk. And if you're into protection, you're not gonna want that. So that toxic behavior tends to lean us a lot to either very strong wanting to protect yourself very very strongly, or connecting to somebody no matter what. It could hurt me, I could bleed, I could break my bones, but I'm going to connect with this person. So it could be either way.
Yes, I agree. 'Cause that's definitely what I was doing, and I had to go to God and ask God, why am I not connecting with you? Um, I don't even know. I've never thought, and I was like, God, I don't even know what my purpose is. Like, I really
Mm-hmm.
started to dig deep to the point where I had to ask God, what is my purpose here? Am I supposed to just go to work every day and work until the age of 65 for retirement age, and that's the lifestyle I feel? And I was like, and I said no, because from going to church and from hearing your word, and reading your word, there's more. There's more that you promise us, the same that you promised Abraham, you promise us. So I'm like, where is my more? Like, why am I not seeing it? And it definitely led me to getting deeper by going into fasting, where I can kind of hear God's voice a little bit more, getting more serious with spending time with God, with praying more, and taking those steps. Like, I used to just say a little prayer before I go to bed, a little prayer before I go to work, and I used to think that was it. And God was like, you got to go deeper, because God is a mystery, and you could never figure him out. You could never figure God out. Every time I think, okay, I know how. Okay, I learned this thing about God. Then there's still something else to learn. So I had to go deeper in prayer. So during prayer and going to therapy, which is another toxic trait that people have, where especially in our community in the Caribbean, especially in the Christian community, we think that going to someone to talk about issue, to get counseling, whether it's your pastor or a mentor or a coach or something. I always think it's important for people to go to someone outside of your family and outside of your friends, so that they won't judge you, and that you can feel more comfortable unpacking what's deep inside, no matter how nasty it is, no matter how cruel you think you may have done, whatever you have done. I definitely think, and those were the steps I had to take for me to get out of that toxic mindset of thinking like, I'm good. I don't fight people. I go to work. I do what I'm told, and not knowing that it was so toxic, and telling myself in relationships, oh, it's their fault. I'm a good woman. Like, I take care of them. I do everything. I take care of them. How dare they not see this in me? And I said to myself, how can you expect a person who's broken to see that in you? And you yourself has that brokenness. And it takes a lot. And it's not easy for people to look in the mirror and be self-aware and find that truth about themselves. And that's why I recommend therapy, because that's where it starts. The therapist is professional to ask you questions, to unpack those deep things that are in you that you may not tell people. Sometimes we carry secrets around, and secrets is another toxic thing that keep us bound, especially for myself. And it gives you that comfortability to talk to them, because if you tell your friend might judge you, your friend might not understand. So in a professional standpoint, that person would not judge you. They would just question you more and push you to go deeper within yourself. And I think that's where it started for me, for self-awareness. And it definitely helped. So some keys to take away, just to help people with to kind of unpack, especially with our thoughts, for people who may be spiritual or not as spiritual. I would say meditation is definitely a key to help you. Definitely something I utilize now, meditation. And I would say just take 10 minutes each day. Because sometimes, like I said, for me, I didn't even think that I had toxic thoughts. So a way to start, I would say meditation is just take 10 minutes in a quiet place. You get some calming music, something that keeps a mellow atmosphere, and just close your eyes, go through your thoughts that you think, and run through your thoughts. Like, take away anything that you may have done for today, and unpack even in your thoughts itself. What are the toxic things that you're thinking? Are you always putting yourself down? Are you always hard on yourself? Are you always counting out yourself, or limiting yourself, or thinking of yourself inside of a box? And after like 10 minutes of that meditation, I would suggest for people to write down exactly all the thoughts that they're doing. That's another form of therapy to help you unpack what's inside of your head. Because as humans, we carry a lot of that stuff in our head. Another key to take away to help you, that helped me, was praying. Getting more intimate with God. That was another key that I used to help me, along with meditation. And then, like I said earlier, therapy. So those would be my 3 keys to take away: meditation, a God, and therapy is the first step to take to get out of that toxic mindset where we think that we're just perfect and everything else is wrong with the world.
I would actually add something else.
Sure.
How about even asking people around you, am I toxic? Do you think I'm toxic? Because sometimes we think we're perfect, everything is fine, but the people around us have a totally different experience. So hearing what trusted people around you have to say could actually give you really good insight into how you're feeling. Of course, everybody might have their biases and little personal, issues that may color the way that they see you. But at the end of the day, you could probably pick out some common themes if you talk to 5 or 6 people and there's this niggling thing everybody says you don't listen. So if everybody says you don't listen, then maybe there's something to that. So because meditating could be a bit intimidating if you've not done it before, and sometimes you think you're not doing it right because you sit down and you can't shut off your brain. So it's something to work to, but I like giving people really low-hanging fruit things you could do today, and get some really good insights. I also endorse therapy, having done it twice, for different issues, dealing with grief on 2 different occasions. But then, of course, in those kind of conversations, you realize too that I have to look at myself. I had the same thing. Why am I attracting the same person in a different body, And it really calls on you to say, okay, I need to address this about myself. So I definitely endorse that as well. Definitely prayer, drawing closer to God. I mean, the Bible itself says that. God said, draw close to me and I will draw close to you. So developing that relationship with God. Because if something goes wrong with our computer, we're going to go to Apple or Dell and ask them what is wrong with this computer. So go back to the manufacturer and ask the manufacturer what is wrong with me. So I think that's having that sort of ability to go to God anytime, do anything, as private as you think it is. Like you could be holding the biggest secret, but I mean, God already knows.
God already exactly. God already
At
knows.
least if you're open to have that conversation and hopefully you hear the voice or get that intuition about what's really going on with you. So I think that's key though.
Yeah.
But ultimately you have to start by wanting to do better. Like if you look at your life and I want to be over here, but I'm here. How can I make these two things match? So you have to at least want to change.
Yeah, that's what I always wonder, where are people breaking points? So it definitely, I love those keywords that you definitely added about just asking people around you. Make sure the people you're asking are not toxic themselves, because they're gonna be like, you
that's
good.
why I said trusted.
Yes, they're gonna be like, no, you good. You always there for me. They're gonna just look at how you do things for them versus really paying attention to that. So yeah, and that's why I said therapy, because it's outside of your friends and family, and because you're professional in seeing right away, okay, I see where you're having these issues. And therapy is a broad thing now. I think people should not be scared of it or think of it as being toxic or something, like, oh, something is wrong with you because you're going to therapy. It's okay. It's okay. And therapy is affordable. There's online, there's so many apps, there's so many features of therapy anymore. It's not as expensive as it used to be. So I don't think people have that much excuse. And praying to God is, God is, it's not, you don't have to pay $10 before you pray to God. God is always 24/7. And people think that, oh, I don't know how to pray. It's just simple. Just talk to God. God wants you in your purest form, and He wants it from the purest of your heart. It's not like I have to get down on my knees. You could just sit on your bed and just say it from your heart.
That's a big thing, I think we don't say that enough, because people who are not in the faith or just coming into the faith, Maybe you didn't grow up in church. Maybe you haven't been to church in a while. So you feel like God ain't gonna listen to me. But it really is just that. There's no special words that you have to say. You might be listening to people who are well established in the faith and they sound so fluent. Because, that was a thing for me, it's like these people pray and it's like swoosh, no pausing, no mistakes. And sometimes I'm there like, so God, I really want to thank you and I don't know.
Yes,
Just being comfortable knowing that however you are, you could come. Yeah, you could
God.
just have a conversation
And it
and
says
it's
in
fine.
I accept you the way you are. And God is such a forgiving God. He's the most forgiving person. That's why he's perfect, okay? Because
Mm-hmm.
humans don't forgive as much as God do. But he
Yeah.
pushes us to do that, to forgive 7 times, times seven, times seven.
Mm-hmm.
So he's such a forgiving God. And I think people do that. They keep God in a box. Like, God is not your uncle, your auntie. No. He's all knowing. He knows your destiny. He already created what you're gonna go through, and he allow you to go through those things so that you can be broken to come to him, and that's the best way God likes to accept you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so let's thank you for your insight on that. Definitely learned some stuff. I hope you guys write in, take some notes. Hi
And everybody
Victoria.
and everybody is different too. So whatever works for you to establish that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next question that I have was called it's called the blame game. Um and it's just, how often do you hear people play the blame game? Have you done it yourself? And how many people in your circle do it off? Like, have you done it yourself, playing the blame game?
I think I used to do it. I would be honest. I would say I used to do it. I used to do it a lot because it's uncomfortable to admit that you did something wrong. So something went wrong, and it's like, oh, if you didn't do this, then this wouldn't have happened. But the fact of the matter is, we contribute somehow to the problems that we experience. It could be 5%, it could be 95%, but we contribute to it somehow.
Yeah.
There's a saying that the life you're living is the sum total of all the decisions that you have made.
Amen.
So yes, you didn't have a choice to be born into the family that you're born into, or maybe the country that you were born in, or anything like that. But at the end of the day, we're all dealt with circumstances.
Yeah.
So we have to, develop a sense that I am going to be responsible for what I am responsible for. And recognizing as well that the way that I behave could have an impact on somebody else. I may not have intended to hurt you, but I don't think it is wrong for me to acknowledge that I hurt you. I didn't intend to, but I hurt you in the process, and I'm sorry for that. And that's part of maturity and growth.
Yeah.
And I think that I've done it. I'm doing much better. Nobody is perfect. Talk to my husband, he'll tell you I still have far to go. But I think it's just part of growing and being again willing to accept that sometimes you're part of the problem and being able to accept your contribution to the problem.
Yes. Amen. Yep. I would say the same thing. I think majority of people play the blame game, whether they do it in a nice way or a rude way. I definitely,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm definitely a victim of playing the blame game. I think oftentimes people also, they don't only blame themselves, but they blame God, and a lot of people blame God a lot. They blame God a
Mm-hmm.
lot. They blame their kids. They blame their parents, and I'm like, there's a saying by Oprah that always stuck with me, especially when I was going through my journey of coming out of a toxic mindset into a whole mindset. And the quote was like, she said, "If you don't know, you don't know, but when you do know, you do better." And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I always stick with me. Like it just resonate in my head, and it's true. And it's like, I realized that I was blaming the people around me or blaming the situation, my mom, my friends. Um,
Mhm.
I think even at some point I even blame God. Like, you say you're God, so why am I still struggling? Why am I doing this? And why don't I see my finances increasing? Why am I not being successful in life the way you do? Why can't you send a miracle? Why can't you send a blessing?
Mhm.
And I had to get out of that toxic mindset of blaming God and starting to realize I have to take self awareness, is what we touched on earlier. I have to go back to myself and realize that I'm when I look in the mirror, I see myself in the mirror. I don't see all those people that
Yeah.
I'm blaming. I don't see any of them that I'm blaming. And it takes two to tangle, no matter what the situation is. Like you said, we contribute somehow. And it
Mhm.
always takes two to tangle, whether it's an argument or anything else. We did something to trigger it, and that's something I had to learn, that I was a person who used to bottle up my feelings, especially in a relationship. Like I used to bottle up, and
Mm.
then when I can't anymore, I explode like a ticking time bomb, and I just
Mm.
go off and I get angry, and I'm like I bottle up that even to the point when people see me get angry, they will be surprised. Like, this this is Florida. I didn't know she could get angry. I didn't know she could get upset. I'm like, oh, if you push my buttons, you will see it.
Mm.
Um, especially in
So
relationships.
you didn't want to rock the boat.
I
See?
didn't want to rock the
Yeah.
boat, but eventually, when the boat gets too heavy and it spills over, that was a toxicness. Not communicating with being authentic with God and communicating to Him, and blaming people not
Mhm.
communicating and saying, "Hey, this is how I feel about this and that." Always worrying about, "Oh no, it's gonna start an argument," or the person will get upset and it's gonna start another argument. I don't want to deal with it. But
Mhm. Yeah.
not noticing that if you're with somebody that is just as toxic as you, then of course, if you're gonna go talk to them or bring up something, it's gonna turn into that. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
so recognizing those things and just not blaming God, not blaming my mom, like saying, "Oh, my mom, how my mom just live her life just the way she lives it," and not letting the enemy just take advantage and all these bondages and lack that we have in our family, and not
Mhm.
fighting back against it, and knowing that I can be the one to break it, because our job is to be better than our parents as well.
Yeah.
And I have to be the one to step up and be bold and brave enough and look the enemy in his eye and say, "Look, I came to take back my throne, okay? And you're gonna fight me, but I'm gonna fight back."
Right.
And
Toxic
just not,
is also saying people who say stuff like, this is who I am.
yeah,
So you have to accept that
that's
this
me.
is who I
Oh
am.
God, yeah,
So and this is who I've always been. That that is toxic because it's saying that you can't change, and there is no reason for you to change. So if you want to be strong in your the way you are, then you have to understand that that's going to impact the relationships you have. And so sometimes people lose relationships for just that sort of rigidity and being inflexible. And the truth is, you can change if you feel motivated enough. You will change.
yeah,
Just because sometimes it's simple things. Just communicate more clearly. Be more considerate of the people who you're around, and these things are easy to do if you're motivated, if you care enough about the relationship.
yeah.
So yeah, telling people stuff like, "Oh, this is who I am," that's
Is that toxic? Yes.
that's toxic as well.
Yes, and pride also stops us from being apologetic for something that we're gonna do. Pride is such a big thing, huge,
Mhm.
huge thing. That allow a lot of
Mhm.
people to do the blame game too much,
Mhm.
and it get in the way of us getting out of that toxic mindset, like you said, saying, "Oh, this is who I am." And I myself used to say that. I'm a victim of saying that. Well, this is who I am, because into myself, I'm like, I'm the best thing. I don't do this.
Mhm.
I don't do that. Like, um, I'm like, who are you? Righteousness is like filthy rags, like the Bible said. So I'm like, who are you to even have that kind of a mindset? But That's another takeaway for people. Like, don't look in the mirror. Do not just sit around blaming God. God is here. Yes, He will take care of you. He will do what you have to do, but you also have to do your part.
Yeah.
Um,
And
a
you
faith
know
is
the
not worth.
funny thing, I don't know about you, but I find I give you an example. One of the things that I used to prefer was that I deal with my impatience,
Mm,
where things would happen and I would just get anxious and do something, and then
mm,
sometimes it would come back to haunt you. And I used to pray and ask God to help me to deal with my impatience when things are not going my way. And I just found that I started having all these experiences where my patience would be tested, and I would be impulsive. So I remember one time I was traveling and my flight got canceled, and I started to panic. And I went online and I booked this other flight, and next thing couple hours later the flight put me on a different flight, and I couldn't get the flight that I booked canceled. So I lost all that money just
mm.
because
Oh,
I just couldn't wait. And it's like I laughed after a while, because it's like, God just used that as an example. He gave me an opportunity to be patient, and I wasn't patient. So you find that your toxic traits keep coming up,
yeah.
and you keep getting opportunities to show that you're growing, or you're changing, and you just have to be more mindful of it. So especially once you know what your shortcomings are, I find
Oh,
you
yeah.
get tested
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot. You get
Yes.
tested a lot. So
And these,
I know my impatience, that's something
you have to
that's
work
one
on.
of my toxic traits that I'm working on. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what those tests is for too, to show us. But like I said, having that self-awareness and noticing, hey, I'm getting a test right now to, and now I just identify something else that I'm being toxic about that I never paid
Hmm.
attention to before.
Yeah.
So those are definitely some good keys. Let me see who's watching. Hi, Diana. Thank you for tuning in, girl. Thank you. Um, yeah, so we can move along with the next question. It's another big topic question. Definitely something I never really paid attention to, and it's unforgiveness. Um,
Mm.
so I wanted to know how unforgiveness has affected you, and is there someone that it took you a long time to forgive them, or not to you don't have to go in details with the name or person,
Right.
but just just
Um,
that.
Funnily enough, I used to say when I was younger, God gave me a heavy dose of forgiveness and no patience. So
Uh,
so I've honestly never really had a problem with letting go of things that people have done to me. Although I would admit there have been some situations where they are very hard to let go of. It's not that I hate
yeah,
the person or I hate what they've done or the way that they behave, but it's just trying to see you in a light where I can have a conversation with you and not think about what you
you
used to do in the back. That has been difficult, especially because the person hasn't changed. And I mean, this was a work situation, so it's not like it's in my personal life where if I don't want to see you, I don't have to see you. But it was a work situation where it just was difficult. Oh my goodness, it was difficult. And trying to forgive and give grace and you know move on and be godly is just hard when the person has not changed. It's
yes,
so
very much.
I would admit that much. But I think just generally with things that I've gone through, and I've had some really terrible experiences, and I feel like I've adequately forgiven and been able to move on. Not saying that, I'm talking to you because I could forgive you and we don't need
Right.
to speak again. But, it's just getting to a place where their toxic behavior doesn't impact my behavior. And I think that's the goal of forgiveness. It's not necessarily mending fences or rebuilding relationships. It's just that I'm not going to allow your behavior to impact how I behave with you and with other people.
Yep. Amen. That's great. That's definitely a great takeaway.
Yeah. So I
Um,
can help people forgive. Just you gotta give me some patience in return. I'm not a patient person at all, but I'm
it
working on it.
Yes, it takes patience. Even to come out of the toxic mindset into a mindset that is whole, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes dedication. You have to really, really want to come out of that because it's easy to fall back into those habits, behaviors, emotional ways that you may treat people. I may not even recognize that you're doing. So for me, unforgiveness, like the Bible said, unforgiveness causes infirmity, and infirmity, in other words, is sickness in
Sickness.
the body because people don't notice how just keeping that stuff bottled up in you affects your body. People just think, oh, it's just whatever. If I forgive somebody, and people don't notice that unforgiveness is not for the other person, it is for you.
Right.
That's the reason why it was created, and that's the reason why we have to do it. I think it's part of a journey from healing from things in our life. Definitely, unforgiveness is what we have to do. Because when you don't think it makes you bitter, and you always wonder why people are so bitter. They're so hard. Their heart is hardened because of it. They don't communicate with people well. They don't, and it's just a simple thing. Maybe the person even hurt them, and sometimes when people hurt you, it's hard for you to forgive them. And one thing I learned was that if you're not able to face the person or get the opportunity in your lifetime to face the person to tell them that you forgive them, you can simply say, I God, just mention the person's name and said, I forgive you in the spirit. Just those words coming out of your mouth, it's a start to help relieve you so that you can heal.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially in relationship for me, and when I had moments to speak to those people, I was able to tell them, hey, I forgive you for what you're going through. And one of the takeaways is even God forgives us all the time. He don't even hesitate. He doesn't say, I'm gonna think about it. I might forgive her tomorrow. Like us humans do. Or how can I possibly forgive that person? That person hurt me. That person did this to me. And then another thing that suffers from unforgiveness, not being self-aware and not understanding that we contributed to the situation too. Um, it depends. Even if it's cruel, it can be a cruel way somebody hurt you. So for me, that is it. Being apologetic to people, being able to say sorry when I do something wrong, or noticing when being aware that I just hurt somebody's feelings. Like they're humans too, just like me. So that's another way I have to learn. I have to learn to forgive. Even my mom, I used to be like, oh, my mom, we were struggling. We was having such a rough life in the Caribbean, and we come here to America, and she brought me here, and we're still having such a tough life, and I had to forgive myself. Because forgiving yourself is very important as well, and I had to tell God that let me forgive my mom. She's only going off of the capacity that she knows. She's only going off the knowledge that she knows, the wisdom that she knows of best of how to apply herself and to take care of her children. And I had to learn how to forgive, especially relationshiply when you think you're hurt. And what led me to learning how to forgive people was understanding that people are humans and they are housing a body just like me, and they are going off of what they know. They're going off of their knowledge, what they learned from their parents. They're going off of their toxicity. Um, you know, they're going off of their unhealthiness, and that's a way that allows me to forgive people even better because I have to do that self check. Like, wait, this person is human. Um,
Right.
and unforgiveness is a way the enemy uses to be in people's life to keep them in that stage so they don't get out of that bondage out of it you
Mm-hmm.
know so I had to remind myself that people are humans just like me. they're gonna mess up, they're gonna make mistakes, they're gonna be rude, they're gonna be cruel. And those were things that led me to even forgive people a lot more easier than I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And I could literally have an argument with you right now and I will forgive you right there and then and said, I forgive you and I leave the rest up to you and God. And I was never that person. I was never that
Well,
person.
that's
Like
good.
if you got me upset, I'm like, look, I'm not talking to you. And I was very stubborn. I was like, I'm not gonna talk to you. I could be in the same house with you, and I'm not gonna talk to you. That's how stubborn I was and unforgiving I was. So
See,
me getting
that's
more deep
why, unforgiveness really threatens relationships
yeah,
and connections. We It's the connection we want.
yeah,
So if we're in a house and don't talk to me and I'm not talking to you,
yeah,
um, we're not connecting as family as we should. So
yeah.
that's why those connections are what's going to build us and grow us and comfort us and encourage us. So unforgiveness is just an unnecessary
Yes,
wall.
we have a short life here, a lifespan on this earth, and to spend our time with that stuff bottled up in us, stuff which allow us not to connect with our families, not even just romantically, but even if it's a friend or a family member that you live with, or a cousin or auntie that may said something to you years ago that affected you, not even things like that,
Mm-hmm.
because today or tomorrow they pass away, and you sitting with that regret, like, wow, I never connected with them, I never spoke to them, and all it take was for you just to forgive and just remember that they're human. I always
Yeah.
felt it every time. That was a big thing that worked for me. Remember that somebody is human just like me, because it could have been me, vice versa, that hurt them, and
Mm-hmm.
I would have wanted them to forgive me. So yeah, that would definitely be my takeaway.
Yeah. That's definitely important.
Yeah. Hi guys, thank you for tuning in. Let me see who was watching. Diana. Hi Deborah, how are you doing? Thank you for watching my live. I appreciate it. Let's go into, we have one second to last question, and yeah, and then we can wrap up our live. So the next question is, it's about lack of knowledge. What are some of the ways that you lack knowledge that has held you back um, from
Ooh.
coming out of the toxic mindset into the mature hold mindset that you're currently in?
Um, Not knowing what it literally is that, lack of knowledge, not knowing what steps to take, not knowing how to communicate according to how somebody receives communication, because that's a big thing. Because I can come to you and I say, look, I am sorry, and I mean it, it's genuine to me, but you don't receive it that way.
Yeah,
So for me, it would have to be learning how to communicate in the way that you receive it. That if I want to communicate that I'm sorry, that I have to say it in a way that you understand and that will resonate with you. And sometimes that's hard because, again, we're stuck in our ways.
yeah,
So knowing how to communicate is a big thing. But I think things like this, conversations like this, where people, not we're not doctors, we're not professionals, we just two regular people who've been through stuff and figured out ways that helped us. So we try to share it with other people and hoping that people, consider it,
yeah,
because we know that if you are not satisfied in your life, nobody has to tell you that. Nobody has to inform you that you're unhappy, or something is not working for you. You know that, but sometimes we just don't know how to get from point A to point B. So I think when we have these kind of discussions, it helps people who want to get to point A to point B. So, we've shared some tips already for the night. But I would also say it's good to ask people questions too.
yeah,
Even if you see somebody is having a relationship that you admire for whatever reason, like ask them, how do you tell your husband? How do you talk to your wife? Ask for help, because we don't know everything. because if we knew everything, we wouldn't have the problems that we're having. So, and also talk to the person who you have a problem with.
Yes.
It's like, listen, I want to be, you could tell, I want to be more affectionate. I want to be more understanding. I want to be more supportive, but I don't know how to do that with you. So always, if you're having a problem with somebody, it's
Yeah.
always good to go to them and just tell them, I just don't know what to do. Help me figure it out.
Amen. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so those definitely I love some of those takeaways that you just said. I didn't even thought one of the things that you mentioned I never thought of it until now you added. So I just want to touch on it from my perspective and my experience is that like the Bible said, for the lack of knowledge, people would perish.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have information about something or don't know something, you're just going to continue on in that toxic mindset. So when we go back to therapy, having a therapist who's professional in that, who does it for a living, who can
Mm-hmm.
teach you and show you ways that you can learn, gaining the knowledge. How can I handle this emotion that I'm currently having? How can I stop myself from exploding up on people and holding in everything? And to tell them in a way that's effective communication that doesn't offend them, and don't
Mm-hmm.
use the you pointing finger kind of thing, and use the I when communicating. So I had to learn how to use I when communicating to people, and I never had that knowledge before of communicating because
Right.
I noticed my downfall was communicating effectively, especially in relationship. And I think that people, um, I would say from my experience, to just simply say, hey, you mentioned something to me. I wasn't comfortable with it, and I would like us to have a conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just that simple. And you sit down with the person and you talk. Everything doesn't have to be arguments. It doesn't have to be a constant back and forth. It can be it saves so many relationships, especially romantically, where you can sit down with that person and communicate what is affecting you. I had to learn to be able to be bold enough to tell people, hey, this is my weakness. I'm still working on this area. So, have some grace on me. Please understand that I am getting better at this area in my life. I'm struggling with communication. I'm struggling with showing affection. I'm struggling with unforgiveness. So me, I have to gain the knowledge of learning how to communicate properly.
Yeah.
When I sit down with my therapist and she was giving me some ways to communicate, I was like, huh? I gotta say what? I was like,
Yep.
I'm like, you sure
Say
I
you're
gotta say these? Only
sorry. It's not going to kill you to say
kill
you're
you
sorry.
exactly. So gaining that knowledge of how to communicate and anything you want to do in life, whether you want a business or for me, ministry, and me getting more into ministry and growing more spiritually, I had to learn the right ways to understand
Mm-hmm.
how God functions, to understand how the spiritual realm works. So it's the same thing. In school, they don't teach us how to be entrepreneurs. They don't teach us and prepare us for relationship and marriages and so forth. They prepare us for college.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. They prepare us for college because even when we go to college, we still come out here in this cool world and we are lost about the other things that's going to help us to get where we are. So gaining that knowledge, taking time out, whether it's reading a book, going to your person who's head of you and who's head of you spiritually, and ask them for advice so they can teach you ways that they themselves have used to overcome, and find out ways for yourself that you can use. Not every method that works for me is going to work for you. So also having the knowledge of that, and
Mm-hmm.
just understanding, reading books. YouTube was another advocate I used to gain knowledge of how to communicate better, to show me, especially of relationship life. I'm like, God, I'm intentional about getting a family, getting married, and so forth. So I made it my business to continue to watch video and get coaching of understanding just a man himself. I said, if I'm going to go into a relationship with a man, I have to understand how he functions. What is his
Mm-hmm.
emotions like? How they multitask? How they receive love? How they give love? I spend time doing that so that so when I meet that person, I can identify. Okay, this is how I know how a man's received love. what was their past looked like, what is, what was their relationship like with their mother, their parents. Did they get that kind of love? Did they even know how to love? Did they know how to give love? So I had to educate myself on that person. So just like you would do with a business or anything, and you get education on it, gain the knowledge, and it's the same thing for God. If you want to get I mean, God is a mystery, yes, but to understand some of the spiritual stuff that we need to understand, get our minds out of that toxic doctrine, um, of thinking what of an idea what we think God is. Find out for yourself from somebody who has that experience spiritually, to give you that knowledge of God's word, and reading the Bible to gain more understanding of how God functioned, even how Jesus functioned when he was here on the earth.
Right.
Gaining that knowledge, don't just go off of what he said, she said. Find out for yourself. And that's definitely that kept me stuck. Not knowing a lot of things kept me stuck, especially being here from a foreign country, and the this privilege that people tell you that you don't have as a foreigner. One day I had to get up and find out for myself. And from going to um, housing, because I was like, okay, my plan is to get a house. My plan is to build my credit. People are telling me, oh, you're a foreigner, do you have limits for this and that? And I'm like, I had to find out for myself. When I go and speak to people and speak to home coaches and learn these things, I found out there's nothing near to what the people were saying. So
Yeah,
listen,
that's why you have to go to the right sources too, not
right.
because knowledge is everywhere. Information is everywhere. So you have to make sure that you're getting information from the right sources.
Yeah. and,
Mhm.
and going to God and let God showing you what your destiny. Another way God communicate with us, whom some people may not, maybe still struggling, that struggling phase of hearing God's voice, is through our dreams. Write down your dreams. Find a true man or woman of God to help you interpret that dream, so that you can see what God is showing you.
Mhm.
If you ask God for anything, He's going to tell you. He's not going to hide it from you, because that's part of your destiny. So gaining that knowledge to understand it's okay to go to God to ask Him. It's okay to gain knowledge of how to have a healthy relationship, how to communicate, how to even if you're not married, doesn't mean that you don't have to learn how to have a healthy marriage, because whatever you do in your relationship before you're married is what you're going to carry over there. When you get married, it's just not going to change. Your partner is just not going to change. And being
No.
able to vet people properly, when you become healthy, it's easier for you to see when somebody is toxic. From their conversation, you could know this person is still at a toxic stage in their life. So having
Mhm.
that discernment and being able to vet people properly was definitely some of the steps I had to take from gaining knowledge of. And it makes you feel so different. It lifts such a burden off of your shoulder. Once you now have knowledge of something, you're able to kind of get better at mastering it, and you're able
Mhm.
to become a better person from the wisdom that you gain. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely key. But it takes time though.
Yeah.
Um, and not to say that you go from toxic to growth mindset and you're forever in a growth mindset. Sometimes you still fall back and
Of course.
because it's a familiar way for you. So
Mhm.
it's a constant work. So it's just that's why self-awareness is so important, because then you recognize, hey, I'm doing that thing that
Yeah.
I'm trying to stop. I'm doing it right now. And so you have to train your brain and train your emotions, um, to recognize that I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing. But once you start, I think it's a lot easier. It's a
Yeah.
lot easier once you start and it's like your eyes open and it's like, huh,
Yeah.
all of this was here and I never
Exactly.
noticed. I never
Right.
noticed this before. So it really is like what you said, like turning on the light in a dark room, like, whoa, this is in here. Okay. So it's important to really start the process. But
Yeah.
men, women, children, elderly people, because sometimes again we think we're set in our ways and we can't change. We could Elderly people are toxic too. So
Yes.
so so
Yeah.
recognizing that, again, if you had to talk to your adult children or family members, and you ask them again, how do you see me as a person, you might find people don't have the best things to say.
Yeah.
And recognizing that even at whatever stage in your life, you can change to a more welcoming and warm
Yeah.
mindset.
Amen. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that with me. So I hope you guys are listening. I hope you're taking away. Grab your pen and your notebook. Remember, we're trying to get from a toxic mindset into a whole mindset, and we're just exchanging our experiences, um, of what we've been through, how we got from that stage of a toxic mindset into a now more mature mindset, and we're not perfect. We're still working. There's still things that I myself is still working on and getting
Me
better in
too.
time. I spent literally 3 years in therapy. Okay, so don't feel ashamed. I'm not better than anybody else here. I am humble to the humblest. I'm even asking God to make me to get me even more humbler than I think I am, because I'm pretty sure there's some more stuff I need to be humble in.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to share with people to help them. Some people don't may not have that platform or have those resources or people in the community to help them to get from that mindset. And I think that it stops a lot of us from achieving the things that we need to achieve in life, when we have such toxic thing. And like when you just mentioned, when you said that even older people have that toxic mindset, and yeah, because they spend most of their life making those same mistakes and those cycle over and over, and not looking deep within themselves. And I was like, no, I don't need my friends to reach 50 and they're still thinking like they're in their 20s. So
Right.
and not just my friends, people on my life, people who may be watching. I wanted to just people to see God in me, and said I like the way God transformed Florida, and I need to know what steps she's taken, and that's the reason
Mm-hmm.
why I'm sharing that with people so that they could know. My method may not work, but one of the main methods I know work is God for sure, and
Yeah.
therapy. 100%. He's the person that created you, and you always have to go back to the creator.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely was some of my takeaways. So my last question for this evening, then we'll close up, and I'll also give you the floor, Gian, if there's anything else that you would like to share.
Mm-hmm.
So some key takeaways I would say from lack of having lack of knowledge, I would say reading God's word, coaching, like I said, therapy, mentorship, and anything that you're doing, even if you're gonna open up a business or so forth, gain the knowledge on it so you could be the best person you could be at it, so you can be excellent. If I'm trying to be an upcoming pastor and prophetess, I need to gain all as much information I can about spirituality and the principles that needs to be followed. I can't just go see somebody that has something wrong with them and think I'm the biggest thing out there. I'm going to lay my hands on them, and then I myself get defeated. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So there are principles that I have to follow, and I want to stay within that boundary where I'm at, especially in the spiritual world. And until I elevate, then I said, okay, I can take on this challenge now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. So my next question would be expectation and co-independency. Those are definitely another area that I myself and people I find have a hard time getting over out of that toxicness of especially expectations. So what are your views on expectations, um, and
And the
co-independence,
codependency. Well,
especially codependency?
um, well, I think all of us have expectations, and I don't think anything is wrong with expectations. Um, and I think somehow that's a problem. It's a problem in relationships now because people come with their expectations and haven't really assessed their partner. So then it's like your partner's expectations, and then you spend your time trying to make mesh, and that can't work if the person can't meet your expectations. I was saying the other day, I love how it happens where it's like a couple has a fight, and in that one fight they realize this is not going to work, and they move on. That doesn't happen in real life. We have 10 million signs that this is not going to work because you have your, and the person just can't meet the expectations, but we still try and hammer that to work. Oh, change. He's going to get better. She's going to improve. But the fact of the matter is, they just don't stand up to what you want. I think with maturity and getting into the, as you said, a whole mindset, that when you are able to achieve against what you want, then if it works, they match up to what you want, then you proceed. But we have this, we just pick somebody because we like them or there's some level of good to it. Okay, let me see how this is gonna work out and stuff like that.
Right.
Nothing is wrong. That's something that I wish I learned earlier in, romantic life. Nothing is wrong with your expectations. If you want to be with somebody who makes a certain salary or has a certain lifestyle, nothing is wrong with that. Go look for what you want. Don't try and force somebody into the image that you've created in your head. That's where a lot of the conflicts and why a lot of relationships don't work, because in your heart this person can't work, but you still stay because they gave you a glimpse that maybe they could turn into the person that you want, so you stick around hoping things will get better. It's not gonna get better because your expectations have not been met, and it just makes sense. Just be with somebody who meets the expectations and the things that you want. But the codependency now, this is on connection. So AirPods are done.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is my phone. Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah, but I'm gonna echo my headphones are.
I can hear you. I don't know if you still have them in.
No, I don't.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking. Let me turn the volume down. Yeah, I was we get into this and then self is dependent on fields of view, and we don't we are responsible for happiness. We are responsible for accepting whatever treatment we give, because you can't change people. Don't go into relationships trying to change people. It's just, okay, this person has shown you who they are. Do you accept it or not? If you accept it, then let's work it out. But if you don't accept it, we need to be more comfortable in walking away. And that's something that I wish we talk more about as women. Just be more comfortable walking away, and understand that sometimes you have to walk away with tears in your eyes, right, and deep love in your heart, because you prayed and you wish that this person would work for you. But if it's not working, if you're not matching, the person is not what you are, be unhappy.
Yes.
So learn that sometimes you have to, though you don't want. That's something that I wish I knew earlier, because I've stayed in places and I've just hoping that are waiting for absolutely horrible to walk away. But the fact of the matter, your needs aren't, this person is up to this like. So it's time to move. And knowing it's time and stay gone is something that I need to talk.
Yeah. Can you guys hear this properly? Are you guys hearing her? Just making sure it's not my connection. Hey, Elizabeth. You guys hearing me properly? Am I breaking up
No,
or am I?
well,
Victoria, are you hearing me properly? Oh, are you hearing her? You can hear me, right,
yeah, I'm
Jan?
here.
I'm hearing you. Okay. So we just continue on our last question before we wrap up the live. So I would say that for expectations is definitely big. I think that people have also have this expectation of God in the sense that they just think that because He promised us to take care of us and make sure that everything is flowing in our life the way He ordained it. We have expectations that we don't think that we also have to put in work and we have to do our part. Because we know God is big and mighty, we just think, okay, well, I'm just going to sit here with my legs on a chair and God is just going to do everything and He's just going to send you a blessing. And it doesn't work. So for me, having to get out of that toxic mindset of I have to also put in work even when it pertains to God. It's the same thing if you want a job, you have to fill out a resume, you have to do your resume, you have to go looking for you have to apply to jobs. The people are not going to know that you're trying to look for a job. You have to, they don't have psychic ability to be like, let me just call this person and see if they want to get hired. So having it, expectations of that. I had to learn that even in romantic relationship and even friendship, having the expectation of how somebody's supposed to love me, and what I expect for them to love me, but I wasn't even transparent of telling them how I wanted to receive love, having the expectation that that person is just going to be honest, they're just going to be forgiving, they're just going to be faithful, loyal, having that expectations of people. And that was definitely a big thing for me, learning to have some expectations because maybe you want to have a healthy relationship. And of course, your expectations is to have healthy transparency, healthy communication. So I had to get out of having healthy expectations and getting out of having that toxic expectation. And it was definitely so it definitely opened up my eyes to see things on a different level and understanding that you don't going in with healthy expectations is good, but not overly expectation because that person is human and there's no way that one person is going to meet your entire needs. And just understanding that, and I definitely have to understand that because sometimes I'll be like, why they just can't? I'm doing it, so why they can't do it? No, that's definitely toxic for you to think because you're doing something somebody else. So I have to learn how to understand, see people where they are and see where they grow. If they're showing potential to growth, yes, it's okay to give somebody a chance. But if that person can't meet just the healthy expectation that's required to have a successful relationship or friendship, then you have the opportunity to move on, like you said. Just be gone and be gone. I'll love you from here and I'll give you your space so that you can grow. Um, so having that expectations against people. Co-independency. I think a lot of people have it in it's also in relationship. They co-independent on their partner to do everything for them. I'm like, your partner is not Superman. Even Superman gotta get some break sometimes. So understanding that you can't co-depend on them for everything. And that's why I said even having therapy, friends, a life outside of your relationship, your marriage, or so for even your friendship, having something to do that you don't think they're going to meet all your needs. And every time you're sad or every time you want to vent, that they're going to be able to mentally give you that need. So having the expectations and not having that co-independency in the sense like I'm going to just depend on my partner for everything. They're only human. There's only so much that person is going to be able to carry. Um, we have to be like when a parent gives birth to us. I mean, some people had their twin sister. Even if you have a twin sister or brother, they still have to fend for themselves. And having that co-independence, even with God, thinking that I'm so comfortable. Nothing is going to touch me. I'm protected by God. But yet you're not a person who's building up your spirituality or building up your prayer life to help defend you when the enemy trying to bring deceitfulness to you, bringing people to attack you when you're going through warfare, not knowing how to handle it and looking at everything physical and thinking, oh, I'm just going through this. Life is more spiritual than physical. And the devil is not here to be like, pat you on the shoulder and be like, great job. When you come to hell, I'm gonna give you the VIP seat. No fire gonna touch you. You know what I'm saying? Like we could work for the devil and we're still gonna go to the same place like everybody else. And it's not like that with God and in heaven. So I always say there's no in between.
Right.
You can be codependent on the devil. You could be codependent on God, and there's no in between. And so I had to learn how to get out of that expectation mindset, especially when it comes to God. And I had to notice that I had to put in my work and do my part and pray and fast and attend my prophetic school that I'm doing. I did one school already and I'm now attending a more advanced school. And I had to do that to continue so that I can learn and know that, okay, it's not just, it's not all better, roses. And God is just going to send every blessing my way. And I'm just going to live the most lavish life because God is just blessing me. The meantime, the enemy is beating me up. There's a lot of stagnation in my life. There's generational curses that I'm not aware of that has to be broken. Um, so yeah, I definitely had to learn. Co-independency and expectation was big, and it's a lot of things that keep me myself in bondage. And I could just imagine a lot of people who do. Even our children, we have expectations of them without understanding that they're humans, they're growing, they're gonna learn the way, they're gonna learn from, they're gonna make mistakes that they're gonna learn from, and being open, being open minded. Being open minded is another thing that a lot of people are not, and I myself was like that. I was very close minded and I had to be open minded to understand that you can't have expectation. Those people are humans just like you, male, female, your children, your spouse, your dad, your mom, your friend, even your friends that are around you, your coworkers. They are humans just like you. And you can't have this expectation. It's not like it's a job you go and apply for and they have expectation. That's different because you get an interview and they're gonna let you know right there and then. This is what we expect in this job. And we know we need to know if you need to fulfill those things. So if you communicate in a healthy way, especially in relationships, to let people know what are your expectations. If that person says, "Well, I'm not there yet, but I'm working on getting it," then it's up to you to say, "Okay, well, I'll give it some time to see if you're really, really working on it." Um,
Right.
but yeah, I had to get out of that expectations of God and of humans, and constantly remind myself that, as when you, especially when you codepend on people, when that person decides to leave you, you're distraught. You have no
Yeah.
you have no more pillows to lay on anymore. It's like somebody pull your pillow right under your head while you're sleeping, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, what happened? All of a sudden, you start to realize how uncomfortable you are. You start to realize how cold you are. It's not warm anymore. So you can't have that codependency on people. You have your own destiny. Each and every person was given their own destiny, their
Right.
destination helpers that God ordained us with. But you're giving your own. God didn't say, okay, Florida, you're gonna share this destiny with Gianne. So she's gonna help you. No, we have to stand on our own because when the enemy comes for us, he comes for us. He's coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And you have to, so you have to figure out, okay, I'm going through this battle in my life. Go to God and ask God, what is responsible for the things that are happening in my life? I'm not going anywhere. I might go to a different job, but it's just going to be the same cycle. I
Right.
want financial freedom. What are my expectations of myself? What do I need to do? I need to depend on myself. I need to depend on God and take those steps. To achieving the goals that I want to achieve. So expectation was big for me, and going to therapy, I had to learn that. And when she said to me that you're being co-independent, I was like, who? I was like, me? I said, how dare you? I said, I am a hardworking woman. I fend for myself. I
Yeah.
go out there. I'm very determined, not knowing that even in relationships, I was very co-independent. And when those relationships end and they end very toxically, I was completely distraught. I'm not gonna talk to anybody anymore. I'm gonna stay single for the rest of my life and all these toxic things. not looking within myself and realizing, hey, you have to not be codependent. That person in the relationship is just as human as you are, and you have to depend on yourself and take full responsibility for your actions, your emotions, and everything else. So that would be my takeaway for expectations and co-independence. Yeah. So yeah, I'm giving the floor. Anything that you would like to share? That's just the last question. I would say for key things to take away is just understanding, getting better at understanding yourself, understanding God's purpose for your life. That would be my key takeaways from expectations. Not fully depending on God, understanding that the faith without work is dead, and you have to do your part as well. You have to make sacrifices, and I always tell people, if Jesus sacrificed for us, who am I not to make sacrifices to get the things that needs to be done? There's nothing in life for free, and my mentor definitely, he stresses that so much. Even in this, even spiritually, there's sacrifices that you have to make. There's nothing in life for free. You have to get up, you have to go to work. You want a business, you have to find a business mentor. You have to do more research on the business. Speak to people in the same field as you in the business to see what they're doing to be successful. It still takes some work, and it still takes some sacrifice, which may require financially or so forth. So that would be
but for me, when it comes to expectations, let me turn the volume up. I'm getting an echo.
Okay.
Yeah. So when it comes to expectations for me, and with God, I mean, God promises you anything you want. If He said He is going to do it, then you have the right to expect that it's going to be done. The problem is we don't know how it's going to be done, when it's going to be done. So again, the hardship is the patience. That's my struggle. So recognizing that you have to sometimes, you have to recognize that everything is within your control. Whether you're dealing with God, whether you're dealing with people. There are things, even sometimes dealing with yourself, because sometimes we feel a certain way, but our body is just not cooperating for whatever reason. So sometimes things are just not within your control. And understanding how to wait and how to behave while